Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, the meeting is called to order. And first of all, I must apologize for our inability to have the meeting the first time it was scheduled. It was mainly due to technical issues, but I'm glad we are meeting today to have the same meeting. And again, since we don't have any major activity on campus, I believe that we'll have a full house. The lecture population is almost 200, so we are expecting something close to that. Now, today's meeting is going to be in four folds. For the first part, we are going to look at basically an overview of plagiarism, beyond which the school librarian will give us an in-depth and a comprehensive look at plagiarism itself, how to avoid plagiarism by applying the proper citations and referencing, be it inter-citation, works cited pages, and the rest of it. And then the major part of the program essentially has to do with the training using the Turnitin software with our learning management system, and then how to get our students to submit their respective assignments and project works on the LMS. And then the last but not least is essentially going to be the questions and answer session. So basically, this is what we'll be doing for this morning's meeting. Yeah. So before we start the ball rolling, we have our promise here. He wants to have a couple of words with us before we commence the program in earnest. So promise, you
Yes,
are welcome.
thank you. Thank you, Director. And thank you, Director, for research, innovation, and technology transfer. And also, thank you, the librarian, for jointly organizing this special event to bring to our desk the use of Turnitin. I must say that recently, the university has made a giant step in acquiring the Turnitin software, which goes a long way to increase our quality of delivery and also the effectiveness of academic work. If you check the motto of ATU, we talk of integrity, creativity, and excellence. And in these modern days, that most of the activities have turned online, we cannot actually claim excellence for ourselves if we don't, to some extent, put some quality in the delivery, the collection of assignment, and the marking of same. That is why we judge it very important to acquire the Turnitin software so that it can be used to improve the quality of delivery. Quite a lot of time, a number of lecturers reported students submitting the same assignment, identical, just changing the name, and abusing the system simply because we have no mechanism to detect and check resubmission of the same assignment. Thank God we have acquired the Turnitin. It hasn't been easy, and we need to also thank the director of ICT for his help in getting us the Turnitin software. This software detects what we call similarities, and similarities are not necessarily plagiarism, but they connote to some extent. They can be used to some extent to check the issue of plagiarism. I'm sure your presentation today will clarify all this. So we are very happy to have a system like this. And today, my call is to entreat academic lecturers, deans, and HODs who are attending this program to take this very seriously as we are going to implement this starting from next academic year. Our plan for academic year is blended learning, and we envisage having a lot of online, lectures blended with face-to-face lectures, which means we shall still be collecting assignment, online. Our learning management system will still be used next year to collect assignment, and the policy of Turnitin shall be implemented vigorously. Assignment cannot be submitted if not through Turnitin. So a responsibility lies to the in the lecturer to first of all set up his system so that the Turnitin can receive and detect the assignment to the extent the lecturer so wish, and also to train the student to submit same assignment using the Turnitin platform. In the end, we shall have a quality work. Even if it's one-page work, it will be an original work for which we can put a right judgment onto the student. So deans and HODs, it is our responsibility to carry this message down. I am a bit disappointed in the numbers as are now, because we expect all the academic staff to be here present, especially the deans and the HODs. I don't know how many of them are here, but it is our core mandate to make sure actually we carry this message far in our faculties, in our department, in the core mandate of the lecturers, and also up to the student, because there's no time and there's no opportunity. This has to be repeated at the departmental level and then also at the faculty level. But for our side here at the policy level, we want to ensure you that we take this very dearly and we shall implement it duly starting from next academic year. So kindly give the best of yourself in listening to this program and tap the best knowledge and continue working on it even after here. You might not get all the full package, but still there will be support from the library, the ICT, and the research community. On this note, thank you very much and have a fruitful event. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Um, Essentially, I think you said it all. Once we are going to have the policy on Turnitin fully implemented, I believe today's exercise is going to be very, very important. Good, because over the period we've had uh, policies that are not fully implemented to the core. But with this, I believe with what the province has said, whatever it is that we are going to put in today is going to go a long way to ensuring that both staff and students are fully made aware of the existence of this software. And for that matter, whatever assignment that they require to submit, or at the end of their study period, their project work will be subjected fully to the Turnitin plagiarism check. The policy, I believe, is going to specify on the similarity index. Now, we've not agreed on the percentage yet, but I believe going forward, we are going to do exactly that. All right, so I'm going to give a brief overview of what plagiarism entails. Now, plagiarism essentially has to do with using someone else's work or idea without necessarily giving them the credit that is due. And actually, it is okay to use other people's work, but the point is you need to give the necessary credit or cite them appropriately. Because as academics, I think you have the responsibility not only to express our own ideas, but to do so as a response to what others have done or what others have said. We do this by way of critiquing or identifying gaps to be filled and the rest of it, or possibly building on what is it that others have done. So we must necessarily give credit and then pay homage to previous research or prominent scholars who have contributed knowledge to the particular area or the particular topic you want to delve in. And essentially, it will provide you with a context and the foundation for your research work. And again, plagiarism doesn't have to do only with uh, just copying words or copying phrases. It has to do with artwork or a playwright or any invention of some sort, a food recipe, at least for those in the culinary industry, a computer program, an application or a code, or probably a scientific or a technological breakthrough. Now, for the element of plagiarism, you must have the following. Essentially, you are looking at the publication itself or any public presentation of some sort, and then the content of what is in there, and then without citing the necessary what do you call it, credit, and of course having appropriated whatever it is that you have copied without giving the necessary credit or recognition. Now we have the following as some examples of plagiarism. You could actually go through them. When you read your own work and present it as a new work, the point is you cannot, even though it is your own work, but you cannot necessarily be giving credit twice for the same work done. So of course, having to recopy or reproduce your own work in another form also constitute plagiarism. And then again, providing a jointly produced work as one's own independent work, you fall short of being academically dishonest. And as academics, we are entreated to cite appropriately as and when it is due. And then for the students, they have their own share of plagiarism as has been witnessed over the period. And then for the types, you have the intentional and then the unintentional. Now, this consists basically of sources not cited as well as sources cited but still plagiarized. And then for the unintentional, if you don't conform to prescribed formats or standards for referencing, you could still be cited for having plagiarized. Now, the types you have quite a lot of them. These are a lot of literature. Now we come to student or author responsibility. Now, for the student, they must necessarily equip themselves with good writing skills. If indeed you want to avoid plagiarism, and then know what constitutes plagiarism and what again needs to be done, and then know the accepted citation format for each institution. Now, for institution, I think over the period, what we've used has mainly been the APA. There are other formats, but of course, I believe once the policy is passed, it's going to spell exactly what is it that we'll be using. And again, we'll be depending a lot on the deans and the HODs. I don't know whether we are going to have a format across the entire spectrum of programs we are running here, or we are going to have an institutionalized format that's going to apply to every other program that is being run. Now, when students are found to have plagiarized, the first thing you need to do, you commence your investigation, meet the student, present the documents, seek the student view on what was it that happened. And if the content is said that they could easily be discharged, then of course you discharge them and then you close the case. Otherwise, you escalate the problem from probably the departmental level to the vice chancellor's level, depending on whatever it is that is at stake, the gravity of the offense committed. And then again, as part of the investigation, you need to look at the content that has been plagiarized, how significant that is, and then the extent of the plagiarized work that has been submitted, and the rest of it. And for the sanctions and the, of course, we've not agreed on the sanctions yet. Why? Because
Oh.
call on the school librarian to give us an in-depth look and a comprehensive look at what plagiarism really entails, how to avoid plagiarism by citing the appropriate citations and then doing proper referencing as it is with best practices. So, Dr. Florence, you can now take the floor and then give us an in-depth look at what plagiarism really entails. Hello.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I
Morning.
will thank you very much. I'll continue from where you stop. I think
Okay, all
we
right.
have
No.
already given the general overview, and I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to do this with a colleague from Lagos who is going to also give us tips of avoiding academic integrity, ensuring good academic integrity. And so, as you said, plagiarism is just basically taking someone intellectual property as your own without giving credit to the person. Without giving credit to the person. And then there are different types, as you said. We have basically two types. So I won't waste my time on those ones. But why plagiarism is unacceptable? It is unacceptable because it's a grave violation to academic integrity, and its sanctions are correspondingly severe. It is severe because your papers could be retracted, could be withdrawn. Your promotion, you can be demoted, or also at a point of time, you can be sacked from the institution, and the institution in which you are will also suffer the consequences. So to avoid plagiarism, we want to look at what is Turnitin. Turnitin, basically, it's a device or it's a software which does originality checking and also plagiarism detection. It checks academic writing for inappropriate copying or citation mistakes. As you said, there are times we plagiarize because we don't know how to cite well, like writing skills or research writing skills. At times we are lazy, or at times also pressure on us for promotion or to complete a particular work on time. For the ATU, the Turnitin is embedded in our learning management system, and this will be taken care by the IT guys who will lead us through step by step how to submit your paper and generate reports. When you submit your paper or upload your paper to the Turnitin, it generates a report, and this report helps us to detect possible instances of plagiarism. Turnitin will tell you it's not plagiarism detection machine, but at least it helps us to know whether this work has been plagiarized to some extent or not. At the end of the day, it beholds on the institution or the one in charge supervising to determine whether this work is plagiarized or not. It's the report. It will give you a similarity index, and the index is basically the percentage of text in your assignment or your work which has been matched to other sources in the Turnitin software. When the index is above 90%, it surely indicates that the work has been plagiarized, and we can call it either authorship or clone plagiarism. Every institution has its own threshold, but the acceptable threshold is usually either 20% or less than, even though ATU have not really come out with acceptable threshold for our case. But usually the acceptable threshold is 20% or below. And when you submit your paper, it give you these colors. We have blue, green, yellow, orange, or red. When you see blue, this interface. When you see blue, blue means your work has not been plagiarized. It has no match in any of the databases. Even though it has no match, it also doesn't mean that your work is perfect, but at least it's good. It's coming from your own idea, your own thought. It's very original. When you see the green, it means it has a matching between 0 to 24. And then yellow means from 25 to 49. Orange means your work has been plagiarized. It has the similarity index of 50 to 74. And then red means from 75 to 100. So when you click on any of these, any of the colors, it gives you the output. And this is how the outputs look like. The output, you see, this is your work that has been submitted in the Turnitin platform. You see some colors. This color shows where your work has been matched from various Turnitin software databases. And it sends you to it indicates the place that has been cited, and it gives you the percentage. Here we have about 1%, 4%, 10%. And then the total similarity index is 15%. If I see it up here. Then when you come down here, this arrow, we have your download or print your reports. And then you can also filter. The filter means it helps to reduce the similarity index. For example, we all know that when you are writing a paper or a research paper, something like bibliography, it's the same everywhere. Maybe table of content and other small matching way might be the same. So the Turnitin gives us the options to filter. And so when you come to the next page, you have the option to filter, exclude quotes, bibliography, or 3 strings words together. Or if the word is about 1%, it also gives you the option to exclude those ones so that your similarity index will be minimized. Well, Turnitin helps us to identify either the work or determine whether the work has been plagiarized or not. But it has its own limitations. It can't do everything. For example, if you copy from an old book that is not on the internet, Turnitin cannot detect that. If you also the work is in Spanish and you translate it in English, or it's in French, you translate it in Russia, and you present it as your own work, Turnitin cannot detect that. Turnitin is also not unable to search all electronic journals. And above all, when the work is image or graphic or whatever it is, Turnitin cannot detect whether it is plagiarized or not. And also handwritten document that has been scanned and even put on the net, Turnitin cannot determine whether it is plagiarized or not. To run up and then ask my colleagues to join me to give us some tidbits about how to avoid academic integrity, I'll conclude by saying Turnitin basically shows similarity to other written work. It doesn't mean the work has been plagiarized. As I said, it's up to the person, the supervisor, to determine this work is plagiarized or not. As students, we really also need to know how to paraphrase and make it clear who said what, to be able to cite. And also to add this, I think the library will be coming out with a lot of webinars and training sessions on academic writings to help us to know how to cite correctly, and then how to quote, and also come out with a reference management tool and many others. We also need to ensure that whatever we are doing, we come out with original idea. or original paper, bearing in mind that one day we bear the consequences of it. When students submit their work or upload their work on the Turnitin and they have the similarity index, which is high, they should be able to paraphrase it to minimize the appropriate, to be within the appropriate threshold. Thank you very much. I'll end here and ask my colleague Eric, if Eric is available to join and then give us the tips on appropriate ensuring academic integrity. Thank you. Eric, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Florence.
Okay, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I need access to share my screen.
Okay. You can share now.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see the screen. We can see.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone online. My name is Eric Amponsa Amwafo. I work with the University of Ghana. And before I start my bit, just some tips that I picked from the two earlier presenters. So, as you may already be aware, University of Ghana has been using Turnitin for some time now. And what I have realized is that a lot of the students, especially, anytime they see the comment or especially the highlights, the colors in the work, they become alarmed. So it is important to make them aware that Turnitin has nothing to do or does not accuse anyone. The system it's only a suggestive system. All that the system tells you is that this bit of text in your work has been found to be similar to that of others. If so, have you cited? If you have cited or if you have quoted and cited the author, then you are within safe zone. So it does not accuse anybody. It just alerts you to be cautious and be sure that you are doing the right thing as you write. And also determining whether a student has plagiarized, like the earlier presenter said, is solely the responsibility of a department and also especially the supervisor. We say this because, let me give an instance. There are instances where students, so you know that there's always a title page, that the title page of a project work, the acknowledgement page, some of the headings and especially the content. So for instance, this project work is submitted to Accra Technical University on this data. Most of those texts are very similar, meaning that if you have 100 students, all of them are going to have this on their work. So this sometimes eats into the index, the similarity index. And if you don't take care, a student may be within range, and when they are forced to go and edit the work, then sometimes what they do is that they kind of try to cut some aspects of the work out just so they can fall within range. And some of them may even go to the extent of taking some text that the supervisor may have already looked at and sanctioned. They take it out all in the bid to fall within range. So it's very important that as we cross-check their work to ensure that they are within the similarity index range, we look at all those things, especially the initial pages of project works, because most students have very similar texts on the initial pages before the main work. So we should be careful how we check it. So it's even possible that a student may have, let's say, if you're University of Ghana, we have 20% similarity index. So let's say if a student has 22%, a supervisor can check and realize that even though the final similarity report says 22%, the highlights and the alerts on the initial pages can be what constitute the other 2% or 1% or whatever is the excess. And if that be the case, the work can be allowed to pass. If you look at, I have looked at some of the policies of other universities, and that is part of how the assessment is done. Because if you don't take care, some common text may force a student to be doing unnecessary editing where it may not be the case. And also, there is also what is called, I don't think I got that, there's what is known as a single source similarity. So that has to do with, if it's in your policy, that's fine, I'm just alerting. If not, then you take note. So that means that, for instance, if I took a Florence article, an article written by Dr. Florence, and I am quoting from it, single source similarity basically states that the amount of text that I take from a particular book or an article shouldn't be more than 2%, or the percentage that you set shouldn't be more than that percent in my work. So I shouldn't take more than the particular percent. Ours is 2%, so it depends on how you set it. And also, students must be made aware that there is a retrospective sanction on plagiarism. So just like Dr. Florence said, if, for instance, you picked a book, let's say another student's thesis, and you quoted from it without citing, because it's not online, Turnitin cannot determine. So then your work may pass and go. But if in the future it is found out that this is what you did, you are not off the hook, because you still have plagiarized, despite the fact that your work was sanctioned to pass through. Okay, now to my main presentation. So I'm going to take us through a few of the things that we can alert students to follow to ensure that they work within the confines of academic honesty. So I said a general principle underlying ethical writing is a notion that a written work of an author, be it a manuscript or whatever source it is, belongs to the individual author, and also is for the enjoyment of the readers. So what it means is that you, the writer, the student, or the researcher who is using these sources, you must be, kind enough or alert enough to ensure that whatever credence is due them, you give them. Ensure that whatever you're quoting, if you are paraphrasing, because you are getting the idea from their work, you ensure that you cite them so that everybody, get the credit they deserve. Is somebody calling me? I have a feedback. Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, there's a feedback since some mics are not muted, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Just proceed.
All right. So we have some list of ethical codes, and a lot of these ethical codes are from the International Center for Academic Integrity. I have their link here. If you haven't seen it, you can later give it to students to look at. So we're saying that once you engage in your academic work, you should always be alert of academic honesty. You should try to ensure that whatever you are taking, so if the project work allows that you provide bibliography instead of a reference list, then you ensure that whichever source that you have read to gain a general idea of what you churned out, all of them have their credit as due them. Then you also have to be very objective. Don't try to twist things here and there. Be careful of the tools that you use. If you're a scientist, you don't produce work that at the end may come to harm society. Try to be open, respect for intellectual property. So once you use other people's work, you try to also show respect to them, try to show respect not just to sources, machines, and creations, but also to respondents to questionnaire and research objects or subjects. You must ensure confidentiality. If the study is such that permission has not been sought for subjects to be exposed, then you ensure that you keep that confidentiality. You take full responsibility for your publication, knowing that somebody may read it and critique it, and if you may have hidden something or done something wrong, then it will be found out. So you do things within the confines of academic integrity. And then there's also legality. Make sure that everything you do, there are always academic standards based on every institution. So you make sure that whatever it is that you are doing, your project work, your research, your system designs are always within legality, so you don't at the end put your institution into disrepute. You also ensure what is known as trust. So as a student, you need to we always say that students need to work in a manner that their supervisors can trust them and also gain their supervisors' trust. Because if, for instance, a supervisor asks a student to go work on some aspects of the project, and the student, instead of doing what was told, go to delete things and twist things here and there just to escape, what we are doing is that if at the end of the day you are found out, then it means that the student didn't do the right thing. There's also the aspect from supervisors. There may be instances where a supervisor may give an instruction, and sometimes it's not well thought through. And it puts students through so much stress, because if you give a student, maybe a student have quoted a source, you may not have looked at the source. Probably it is the only authority in the field that it can be cited. So if you don't check and you ask the student, for instance, to go and look for a current one, probably it is nobody else may have worked in that area. So then it becomes a challenge for the students. They take them so much time and then it creates some amount of distract because of the stress that comes in. And there's also the element of courage. So the courage here mostly goes to students, which hints on the fact that students should be bold enough to report other students when they see them cheating. They should be bold enough if, for instance, a student find out that the supervisor is abusing them. If we send a work and for months and months the work is not being looked at, no response and all these things, meaning that a student will probably have to spend another year paying school fees and all that. And we say that it's good for the institution to put in measures such that the students can have avenues to seek redress. Else we put the students in a cage and sometimes they may end up graduating being timid. So we need to put avenues to ensure that students are emboldened in the path of righteousness as they go on with their academic work. So this aspect has to do with referencing. References is very important in terms of ensuring academic integrity. And so I don't know which standard you use as at now, but in University of Ghana, we use APA. So it's important. I think I heard in the earlier presenters, the first presenters slides, there was the element of referencing. So if that be the case, then students must be made aware. To be honest, there are instances that the institution churn out policies and you meet a student, even some staff in the institution, and some of them are not aware of the policy standards that are available. So marketing and ensuring that every member of the university community is aware of the standards and policies and expectations is very important, because that's the only way by which you can also demand responsibility from them. And then the other aspect is choosing the standard. Also has to do with whether or not all other. So for instance, in University of Ghana, I know we have a School of Languages. So that being the case, mostly there can be a slight blend of, so the general standard being APA and then MLA for those in the language area, because it has features that enables them to do their work appropriately. So I think that should also be looked at, so students are comfortable following the standards that are churned out. Okay, and in doing so, we argue that, or we advocate that once you do that, once you work, you do not combine styles. So you use, if you are the same project, you use APA for, let's say, chapter 1, and then without caution, you get to chapter 2, you find yourself using Harvard and all that. It creates confusion, and it does not aid the supervisor to cross-check the work as properly as it should be. So while citing and referencing, so when you do that, it helps you to escape plagiarism, because if you do things right, there's a possibility that your work may even be beyond the similarity index, but then you still be within the safe zones of academic integrity. To acknowledge debt to other writers. So as you work, in order to prove to the research world that whatever you are churning out, whatever you are telling us is not on top of your head, but these are standards and things that other researchers, have credence and also can support, you need to cite other people. And as you do that, you show them respect by ensuring that you cite and reference them. To verify quotations. So if you have taken something that is verbatim, you need to ensure that you put these things in quotations to enable all those who read your work to locate your sources. So once you reference and cite, what it means is that you are also making work, writing and citing or research work very easy for other researchers, because instead of having to visit other sources before they find relevant research materials, right there from your work, if that is what they have in hand, you can also help lead them to other relevant researches to ensure that they work within time boundaries. So when you write and cite, what you do is that you also help other researchers to locate more relevant sources quicker. To enable readers to follow up and read more fully the cited author's work. Yes. So once you lead them, they're also able to get it. And then if that second author's work helps them the more, it means that you have also played a role in getting them to work within time, to demonstrate to the body of knowledge upon which your work, your research is based. So when you do that, you get it out clearly to the reader that this work, as I said, is based on evidence and not just heresy. Tips for smooth citing and referencing. So you cite as you write. Now there are instances where some researchers and students, may want to put out the write-up before coming back to do the reference, and that is very risky because there are instances where you may have paraphrased the text. If so, you will not put them in inverted commas, meaning that tracing back to find them to cite will become very difficult. So we advocate that students and researchers will cite as they write. So meaning that if you get to a point where you need another author's idea to buttress a point, once you do that, you cite immediately as you move along. And then you also keep records. You keep records. So there are instances where as you work, you may visit a website, a different source, and take something from there. If you don't keep record, there comes a time the supervisor looks at your work and says that, no, I've seen this here, where did you get it? And you may have to spend so much time tracing back. So what I normally advise our students to do, once you start a project, you open another template, mostly Microsoft Word, maybe you can name it sources. And then every site or every external source that you visit, you can copy the link and the title, you paste them, so that when the need arises for you to cross-check, you are easily able to do that from the records that you keep as you work along. You also need basic information needed for citing and referencing, and then adopt a reference management tool. Look at that briefly. So you need to know if, depending on the referencing style or standard that is adopted in the institution, you need to be knowledgeable or aware of the basic parts that you need to cite, a book that you need to cite, a website that you need to cite, a journal article, and so forth. So basically, this is an example. So these are the basic parts for citing a book, and then the other is the basic parts for citing a journal. So we advocate that students are taking through this to ensure that they are aware of doing this citation. Now, if you look at the example here, this is Harvard against, let me pick a highlighter. So this is Harvard against APA. Now, if you look at it closely, if you don't take it, you may not see anything wrong, but then closely you see that at Harvard, after the year, there is, so let me lose, after the year, there is no punctuation, but with APA, after the year in bracket, there's a punctuation. So sometimes it can just be a comma, it can just be a full stop, but then it will throw your references into error. So that is very important for students. Now, using reference management software. Now, if you look at all these punctuations that are up here, even experts as librarians as we are, sometimes become difficult to remember them, how much more the students. So we advocate that we take students through how to use reference management softwares, so that all of this eases the pressure, the stress, the friction between the student and the supervisors, because they bring the work to you repeatedly, and then you continuously see some errors and challenges, and then sometimes some students begin to feel that the supervisor doesn't like them. Meanwhile, the whole challenge has to be with a skill, as the first presenter said, that they needed to go on with their work. So now there are a few of the reference management software on the market. So we'll talk about that in a jiffy. Now, if you look at this researcher on the screen right now, this is a typical researcher working, let's say, mechanically. So there's a computer for typing, and there are all sorts of articles and books around him. There's a chance that he may pick one article and then type a text from it into his work, and then forget which one it was. Look at the number around him. All these are time wasters, and remember that academic work always are within time bounds. Now, if you look at this serious chap here, you cannot see any book, you cannot see any material. All that he needs is the computer, because if you use a reference management software, what it helps you to do is that it helps you to keep all your sources, your articles, your ebooks, all in one place on your computer. And even for Mendeley, as we use in UG and EndNote, it helps you to keep backups in the cloud, so that even if you have to leave your office or your home working desk, all you need is another machine at your new location, and then you have all your sources to continue your work without having to depend on one machine. And so doing, we are saying that using reference management softwares takes you away from machine dependency in terms of research and project management. Now, if you look at what's on the screen, we're looking at a situation where a researcher is working. So we are going to be dealing with articles, books, conference papers, websites, and all manner of sources. Now, collating all these things and managing them and generating the appropriate reference and bibliographies becomes very tedious and difficult. So we're saying that it results in lots of typing. You have to type so many times, a lot of referencing, and which leads also to some mistakes, because you probably may not have the necessary skills to do that. Now, if you use a reference management software, this is what happens. You have all these sources to work with, and then the reference management software provides you with this cloud storage environment, which also in effect helps you manage your articles, and then helps you generate your reference and bibliographies just with a click of a button. So we propose that the institution also, if you don't have yet, you look at if you can acquire these softwares, because it makes research work very easy for faculty and students as well. It sharpens their research skills as they move along in the research ladder. Now, if you use this software, so it helps scholars to create and manage their lists of reference for research projects. Most tools are designed to organize citation into specific formats for the preparation of manuscripts and bibliographies. Many such tools provide ways to download reference into reference management software. So this one basically is saying that, assuming you wrote a paper and you need to submit it to a journal for publication, and they wrote back that they don't use, let's say, APA, but they use Vancouver. Instead of having to sit down days typing and putting in punctuations and commas and changing the styles, just with a click of a button, the system will change the reference style from the previous state to the approved standard for you. And then we are saying that ways to download. So instead of downloading your articles onto a pen drive or onto your local machine, the reference management softwares, especially the ones that I have used, helps you to get the articles directly from online into your account. So you don't even need them on a pen drive. That is what enables you to access them wherever you are and working. Okay, so these are some of the advantages as you use them, since you have so much. So these are some of the reference softwares on the market. So you have Zotero, we have Mendeley, we have Reference Manager, we have EndNote, RefWork, ProCite. There's so many of them. But in University of Ghana, we subscribe to this Mendeley, and also EndNote are the two reference managers that we use. Now, mostly when we teach students, we push Mendeley to them, because Mendeley allows a member of the community to activate their account using their institutional email, whilst EndNote gives a password that normally is managed by the library, and which means that every single user of the community has to visit the library or whoever is assigned to manage it to get their account activated, which is very, very tedious. We run that system currently in our research commons, and it takes so much work. Even when during the lockdown, some researchers who are on their projects had to call, and then you have to find a way to meet them and activate their account for them. So if anybody is asking, for me, I think Mendeley is good for students, because they are easily able to activate their own accounts and use it. Once you activate the account, what it means is that it gives you access to advanced features. So Mendeley gives you 2 gigabytes of free storage space, so you can use it currently. If you don't have account or if you don't subscribe to it, you can still use it for free. They give you 2 gigabytes of storage space. You can create 3 groups. So it allows you to create, let's say, a group of students on a project or lecturers on a project work. They can create a group where they share the research sources, meaning that you don't have to be sharing the sources via email. So it gives you, so currently a subscriber to the software has more than 100 groups that you can create, unlimited storage, and so many other advanced features. So this is for the attention of management if you don't yet have one. Now, why academic integrity? We're saying that having academic integrity is important for several reasons. First, having academic integrity means that others can trust you. It's important because it provides value to the work that you churn out, because anybody reading it know that what you churn out is based on research and evidence. And employers as well, we're saying that will normally trust a researcher or a student who has developed or churned out a project that is based on integrity. Now, on my last slide, we're saying that to work within the ethics of academic writing, start every project with integrity. And to do that, we say, first of all, adopt all the necessary tools from the onset. Like I said earlier, sometimes you start a project and you say, oh, let me start a synopsis and do this and that before I come back and cite. No, sometimes you may have picked the topic itself from a particular article. So it's very important that once you write the topic down, you put the citation on it and then the title of that article, so that if you come back to it later, you can trace it. So this, when you do that, it reduces the time that you use to work. So this includes note-taking, use of special tools like reference management, data analysis if you intend to do it yourself, research, reference management software and all that. We also acquire the necessary skills or get the help in the use of applicable tools for your project. Be familiar with acceptable academic information sources. So this has to do with the databases and the general database that your institution subscribes to. These students should be made aware of this, and faculty members, so that as they work, they don't end up contacting Google and then Google Scholar in the open web for sources which may probably not be credible. Be familiar with accepted reference style in your institution. Cite as you write to avoid unintentional plagiarism. If you are a fan of writing, hoping to come back and do your citation, you may end up being caught of unintentional plagiarism. Paraphrase properly and cite immediately. Cite the original source as much as possible. Now, most students can be found doing Kweku Mensah cited this man and said this and said that. It is not wrong, but then we're saying that as much as possible, trace the original source. Probably Kweku Mensah's work, as you have seen, citing the original author, may have paraphrased the author's words. If you put it in a manner that portrays that this is what the original author said, that can sometimes lead to some amount of deception. And above all, they're saying that be working within the confines of academic integrity to eschew or stay away from plagiarism. All researchers and students must be honest as they work along. Thank you for your attention. Mr. Moderator, you can take over. Thank you.
Eric, we are grateful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Bruce Mills, please, are you there? Hello? Moderator, please, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Good, yes. I think from the beginning we intended that you finish the entire session, beyond which you take questions, comments.
Yes.
Yes, so at this point, I think it would be appropriate to invite the IT boys to take us through. But I was suggesting earlier that if you could have a spare machine so that this session will be interactive, it will be in real time. Or better so, you could log on using your phone and then use your machine for the actual session. That is the hands-on training.
Eric.
Yes, madam.
It's your screen. Your slide.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Richard Nyako from the ICT Directorate of ATU.
Good.
Okay, today we are going to look at how we can use the Turnitin directly to check our similarity reports. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Please, can you see the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the site that you have to visit to use the Turnitin directly is the turnitin.com. We have done integration to the LMS, but today we are going to focus on using the Turnitin directly. Okay, so for you to
Excuse me. So we are not going to do it with it in its integrated form with the learning management system. I thought essentially that is what, because for the native, I believe a lot of people are quite aware of how to. So if you could take us, or you did not actually prepare for that,
the steps
or,
are similar, but
the integration is not completed yet.
the steps are
No,
similar.
Mr. Mensbrew.
Yes.
Yes, the integration will be working with Turnitin Live, and so it's a procedure that is going to walk us through now.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
okay.
No problem.
All right, so.
Okay, so when you understand this, the steps are similar. So let's go through using the Turnitin directly for everybody to know how you can submit, create a class as a lecturer, and also submit or to look at the similarity report. Okay, I'll log in with my instructor ID. First of all, before you can use the Turnitin as an instructor, you need to get an account. But if you have the LMS account, that one, you will not need a special account again. So I'm logging in with my instructor account. Okay. When you log in as an instructor, you have the chance to add your courses. If they are not added already, you have the chance to add your courses. So I'm going to add a class. So you have to click on the add class button. I'm creating a standard class. So you pick the type of the class, standard class. Then you give the class name. So for example, training class. Let's say for today. Then you have to give an enrollment key where you give it to the student to connect to your class or your course. Okay, so I'm just putting this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you pick the subject area. Let's say computer science, the level undergraduate. You have to indicate the end of the class. Let's say whether it is 1 month or 2 months, you have to indicate it. So for today, I'll just leave it as it is. Then you click on the submit button. Okay. So as you just create the class, you have the class ID and the enrollment key. For your student to connect to your class and to submit the assignment to check the similarity, you need to provide them with the class ID and the enrollment key. So you can copy it and give it to the student. When they receive this, they can register on the Turnitin and submit the assignments. Okay, let us continue. Okay, assuming the class has been created already, but you need the class ID and the enrollment key to hand over to the student. Let's see how you can get the enrollment key. So these are the classes. And this is the class that we just created, the last one, training class. To get the leftmost part, this is the first column is the class ID, where you can pick the class ID. Okay, so now let's see where we can get the enrollment key. You have to click on this edit gear or the settings button here. So when you click on the edit button over there or the settings button over there, you will get the enrollment key. So this is the enrollment key that you have to add it to the class ID and submit it to the student. So if you give the class ID and the enrollment keys to the students, they will be able to connect to your class. So assuming you have 10 classes or 5 classes, just give the class ID and the enrollment keys to the student. They will be able to connect to your class. Okay, now that we've created a class, let's see how we can add an assignment. So to add an assignment, you click on your class name. When you click on the class name to add assignment, you have to click on the add assignment button. Okay, it's taking some time to upload. Let's just wait for it. Okay. You have to give the assignment title.
Richard.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this will basically be used for the students' project work and the dissertation. So use proposal, chapter 1, chapter 2 kind of examples so that people can follow.
Okay, so after giving your title, you have to indicate when it's going to start and when it's going to end. Mostly it is advisable that the time you put it at the end of the day. For the starting, you can just go ahead, but for the end date, you just leave it at the end of the day so that it will not take people by surprise. Okay, let's go to the optional settings where we have to do some settings over there. Enter special instructions. So this is where you provide instructions to the students that they have to take note of in submitting their project work or their assignment. So you provide instructions at this particular place. Okay, so you provide instructions, all that you want the student to be aware, you provide them here. Then you have to indicate whether you want the student to still be able to submit after the due date. So the default is no. So mostly we don't allow them to, but if you want them, you can make the necessary changes here. Assuming maybe you want some students to do some submissions after the due date, you can make the edit and change it to yes. Okay, let's go to similarity report. The default is yes. If definitely you want the students to be able to get similarity reports, that is why you are using the Turnitin for them to submit the assignment. So you leave that one as yes. For generate similarity report for student submission, for Turnitin, we have 3 main options. But when you go to the elements, we have 4 options over there. So let's just go through them. If let's all of us go through here. If you use the immediately first report is final, that means when the students submit the work, they get similarity report right away, and that report is final. If you pick the second option, that is immediately, can overwrite reports until due date. For that particular one, the student can do 3 submissions, but after the 3 submissions, they have to wait for 24 hours before they will get the report. And if you use the last one on due date, that is when the term set up for the assignment or the work to end, that is where they will get the report. So let's leave it at the immediately first report is final. We have these 3 more areas where you can exclude the reference session. If you want this, the reference session to be excluded, should not be counted towards the similarity index, you can leave that one as yes. And also small quoting, when the quote is very small, you can leave that one. You can, if you want to leave that one, you put it at also at yes. But let's leave everything at no, and let's continue. Exclude small sources. This place is also very important. Allows students to see similarity reports. If you want students also to see the similarity report, you leave it at yes, so that as a lecturer, once you get a report, the students can also have access to the report and they can look at their similarity report. The most important aspects of the settings is this place, submit papers to. This is where you decide whether you want to archive the work in the Turnitin repository. If you choose standard paper repository, that means the work that the student is submitting is going to be archived in the Turnitin database. And in that case, subsequent papers which will be submitted can be checked against those papers. But if it is not the final work, you can decide to put it at no repository so that they only see the similarity report and do the necessary corrections until when the time is for them to submit the final work. That is where maybe you decide that one to submit that one to the Turnitin repository. And in that case, you choose standard paper repository. So this place is very important. The no repository is the default, but you need to take note. If you want the paper to be submitted to the Turnitin database, so that future work can be checked against, you choose the standard repository. Other than that, you leave it at no repository. Yes, still, similarity report will be generated. You can see the similarities. Then you have to.
So, Richard, let me just add, Dr. Florence. So, for most universities, this particular portion is a decision taken by the university library or the research team. They will finally submit what they think should be archived. So it should be the final finished approved work which is put in the repository, because if you put anything in the repository, you'll be exposing, if it's not a finished work and there are issues of plagiarism and other things, you want to avoid putting it, because if you put it here, it is logged. It will take extra effort to get it removed from the database.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Richard,
so then you have to also indicate the various websites and journals or the publications that the work should be checked against. So we can leave all the default ones, periodical journals, everything intact, so that the work will be checked against all those places. So when you are okay with these settings, you have to click on the submit button to create your assignment. So an assignment has been created where students who have access to the class ID and the enrollment key can register and submit the assignments. Okay, so let's look at, as a lecturer or an instructor, how you can submit an assignment on behalf of a student, or the work which you have, how you can submit it to get the similarity report. Okay, so to do that, you have to click on the view button. Okay, when you click on the view button, then you click on the submit file to browse to pick the file. Okay, and you can submit a paper for the students who have enrolled in the class. Okay, let me give this enrollment key to give this one out so that you can join right now to submit an assignment. So that is the class ID. The key is okay. So I've placed those who would like to join to test the submission can pick the class ID and the enrollment key to join. I'm using another browser to join as a student so that I can submit an assignment for that student. So I'm joining as a student to be done very soon. Okay, so I have used the class ID and the enrollment key to join as a student. So, for example, as an instructor or a lecturer, I want to submit a paper on behalf of a student. So to do that, I have to click on the class ID. Then click on the assignment that I created, proposal chapter 1. I have to click on the view. Okay, so to submit, you have to click on the submit button. And the students who have enrolled, you pick that particular student. Okay, so you give it the title, that is proposal chapter 1. Then you have to browse and pick the file. Mostly when you come here, sometimes it will be placed at the cut and paste upload, where you have to copy the work and place it here. But I recommend that you choose a file rather to upload. So you have to place it as a single file upload. Okay, so I'll now browse and pick the work that I want to submit. Okay. Then you have to click on the upload button to submit the assignment on behalf of the student. So you receive the summary of the document, the author name, the title, the file name, the file size, the number of pages, the number of words, and the number of characters. So you are being asked to check whether you are okay with the details. So if that is correct, then you click on the confirm button. Okay, so the document has been submitted. You can keep these details, you can print it down to show that you really submitted your work on this particular date and time, and it has been submitted where you have the submission ID. Okay, so let's go to the assignment inbox. We are okay with this. So the work has been submitted on behalf of student, on behalf of that student, Richard Nyako. Okay, let's see how we can look at the similarity report of the work which has been submitted. So as you see the similarity report here, the student will also get the same report. Once, because during the settings, we choose that the student should also see the report. So to go through the similarity report, you have to click on the percentage sign over here. You have to click on the percentage. As it was discussed initially, that when the percentage is from 75 to 100, the color will be red. That is what is showing over here. Okay, so this is the similarity report which has been generated for the work which was submitted. Let us just go through some of the tools that we use to do the similarity check. Okay, so to the last button that you see over here is the submission information. When you click on it, you will be able to see the submission ID, the date that the work was submitted, and the time, the file size, the number of pages, and all those things. You will get the same information here. If you want to download the original work, you click on the arrow button over here. That is download. That is where you get a copy of the original work which was submitted. Okay, now let's go through the similarity tools that we will use to check the various sources and other things which were cited for the work. So to go through, to look at the matching, let's click on match overview. Okay, so the first source which has been indicated, the match value which is matching to this work, is a student paper. This work has been submitted already by a student. So as a lecturer, you want to look at where this work was submitted, which student submitted this particular work. You can click on the arrow key close to the 100%. So when you click on the right arrow key, it will show you where the work was submitted. So this same work has been submitted to Accra Technical University. So if you want to get If it is not the same student, but you want to get the details of the work which was submitted to Accra Technical University, you click on the name submitted to Accra Technical University, and it will take you to where you can request.
Mr. Nyakon. Mr. Nyakon.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, that screen is not showing.
Oh, okay. Okay, then let me stop and share again.
Okay.
Can you see the screen now? Hello?
I see the screen.
You can see, okay.
Yes, please. Thank
Okay,
you.
let me go over again.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, let me go the whole thing again. If you want to look at the details of the work which was submitted, you have to click on the I button. That is the submission details, and you have these details. If you want to download the copy of the original work which was submitted, you click on this arrow button, download. To check the various similarities, you have to click on the third button, that is the similarity tools. When you click on it, we have the matching button where you have the percentage, which is 100% matching to another record which has been submitted to Turnitin. We have all sources. We have where you can do filters and settings. Then where you can exclude sources. So let's go to the matching overview. When you click on the matching overview button, it will take you to the percentage which was recorded against that work. To look at the various matching sources, you click on the right-hand side, the arrow pointing to the arrow after the 100%. You have to click on the arrow, which is the view match breakdown. Okay. So when you click on it, the first 100% matching is a work which has been submitted to Accra Technical University. So when you click on it, it will give you, it will load where it was submitted. It's showing as a student paper. If you want to get a copy of you want to request for a copy of that work, you have to click on the submitted to Accra Technical University. It will open another window for you where you can request for a copy of that work from the instructor who has access to that work. Okay, you can use the arrow key. Please, can you see on the screen where you have a small dialog with the heading submitted to Accra Technical University?
Yes.
Okay, so you can click on the right-hand side arrow to go through these sources to look at where the work, where the student picked those sources from. In another way too, you can click on the small button over here where you have, it has been divided into two, which is the full source view. You can click on the full source view and it will place the source document and what the student submitted side by side, where you can go through to compare whether the student has plagiarized that work or is just, in other words, to look at the details of that work. Okay, so you'll be able to see the source and what has been submitted. Okay, so let's go back to the matching again. Okay. So you have all these sources indicating the various percentage which the work had been cited from. So to look at any source, you have to click on it. For example, bbc.com. If you click on it, it will load for you to know the various texts which were cited from the bbc.com. When you look at this place, match 1 of 3 indicate that bbc.com, 3 links were provided, or 3 links were cited, or 3 links, sources were picked from 3 links. So that is the match 1 of 3 for only bbc.com, where we have 99%. So to go through all of them, you can click the links one after the other. Or on the screen, you can use the arrow key on the right-hand side here also to go through, to see the source against the work which has been submitted. But if you want to look at it in a side-by-side view, that is where you click on this small arrow, the small book, which has been divided into 2. You click on the full source view. Then the work will be open in this way for you to compare what has been submitted and the source. Okay, so I think that is clear. You can go through to see the sources which have been submitted. Okay, let's do one more thing. When you look at the sources, and let's say the student paper is the same student which submitted that particular work, maybe previously or mistakenly submitting it to Turnitin, and it has been archived, and you want to exclude that particular source from it, you have to click on the exclude sources button showing down here. Okay, so when you click on exclude sources button, you have the option to exclude the source from it. So let's assume that it is the same student who submitted that paper earlier, and it has been archived in Turnitin, and now you want to exclude it from it. So you have to check the various links that you want to exclude. So you want to exclude the student paper. When you are done, you click on exclude. So that part has been removed from the similarity index report, and we are left with the actual other sources where the student cited, or it has cited for similarity checks. So to go through those sources, you click on the arrow key, which is close to that 99. Then you go through to look at the various sources that the student cited. Okay, let's go to filters and settings. Okay. Mostly because the bibliography is going to contain the references where we don't include that one in the similarities. You can exclude the references from the similarity report. So to do that, you have to check to exclude the bibliography. Okay, so to apply the changes that you have made, you have to click on apply changes. Okay, so that is how you do to exclude the bibliography. And if you want to exclude small sources of, say, 1%, assuming maybe you want to exclude small sources of 1%, you can also put it there and you apply changes. Or you want to exclude, let's say, 3 words, source 3 words, you can also put it there and you apply the changes. So that is how you go through to exclude bibliography and other small words, or exclude certain percentage from it. Okay, this third button over here after the 99 is all sources. If you want to look at all the sources again, you click on that one. It will show you all the sources which the work were picked from. So basically, that is what you go through to check the similarity report. So assuming you have also, you want to look at the second student, you can use the arrow here. But right now, it is only one student who has submitted work to that assignment. So you have 1 of 1. If you have, let's say, 20 students, you will see 1 of 20 students who have submitted their work over here. And you can use the arrow key here to go through the various submissions. Okay, so let me show you on the student interface what the student will also see. Okay, so this is the interface that the students will also see when they want to submit the work themselves. When you give the class ID and the enrollment keys to the student, they will be able to register and have access to the class and the assignment that you have set for them to submit the assignments. When they log in, they will see the class. So this is what the student will see at the initial stage. This is the class that I created. So for them to submit their assignments or their work, they have to click on the class name. When they click on the class name, they will have the various assignments or the various chapters that you have set for them to submit their work. So for them to look at the report, they will also, when they click on the percentage, they will be able to look at the similarity report. It is the same view that we looked at earlier. The I here is the instructions that you set for the student to look at it. So it will give them the various instructions that you have given towards that assignment. If they want to submit any work to the assignment, they will click on the submit button. They will click on this submit button and they will browse as we did earlier on to submit the assignment. And they want to look at the work too, they can click on the view button to look at the same work which was submitted, the file which was submitted. And if they want to download the copy, they can also download it here. So basically, I think we've gone through the most important areas. Logging in as a lecturer, then you create your class and give the class ID and the enrollment keys to the student. Then you create assignment and submit the assignment. You can submit the assignment on behalf of the student, or the student can submit the assignment themselves, and how you can look at the similarity report. So I'll pause here if there are questions.
Okay, Madam Florence and Mr. Mensbro, you can take over.
Moderator, please take over. Mr. Mensbro.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Can you?
Done.
All right. Thank you very much, Richard. Yeah, I think at this point we'll now take questions from participants. The question could cover the entirety of the presentation so far, being it the first, second, or the third presenter.
Okay, maybe before we start that, what Richard took us through, the user manuals are available on the Turnitin website. We'll share the link. So Richard, just forward the link to Madam Florence immediately, so that
all right, you can share
that with the university community.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Hello.
Well, okay. There's a question on the panel. Is it ethical to exclude small words? Maybe Madam Florence. Okay, Mensbro, you are the moderator. Please go ahead. But there's a question that has been typed in the chat.
What's the question? Is it ethical to do what?
to exclude small words.
Small words.
Yes.
Small words as in.
Like you say, okay, remove men's brew. When you see men's brew being picked by Turnitin as similar something else, ignore it.
Dr. Florence, if you could take this up.
Yeah, the small words, like I'm confused which small words is he talking about. For example, you can exclude string 3 or 4 string words together for I'm going. So you can say if you see anything I'm going, which is general, you can exclude. But string word like what? Is it there, or what? If the person can make it more clearer, I'll be grateful. Eric.
Hello?
Yes, Eric.
Yes. Please.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So, what's your take on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yes. Can you exclude small words?
Yes, okay. So in UG, what we do is that the exclusion is 10 words, 10 continuous words.
Okay.
So that's the explanation is that it is possible for a writer or a researcher to put up his own words, his own conjugation, which may possibly coincide with another researcher's. But the assumption is that it is impossible for that to continue word for word, punctuation for punctuation for more than 10 words. So if that happens, then it is considered that possibly there is something suspicious.
Suspicious. Exactly.
Yes. So you can choose your own standard, 5 words, whatever it is. But
yes, like I said earlier, 3 words, 4 words, fine. Continuous you can exclude. But if it's 10 words, then I think the coincidence is too much.
yes.
You can consider one as
yeah.
Okay, so there's another question. George Ananitechi says, can we have the recording?
A lot of them has raised up their hands. Can we take that one also?
All right, over to you, operator.
Okay. Emily Free. Mr. Achu, please, after this one, maybe you can come in with that question. Emily Free, can you please?
The questions are on the panel, so you can pick them yourself. They are asking at the Q&A session. There's a chat question there, so you can equally pick them.
Emily Free, can you please unmute yourself? Can we have copy of the recordings?
Hello. Madam.
Hello, yeah. Emilia.
My question has been answered. I was asking the question, but look at I was not able to see the screen. So you did even answer and said it, yes.
Okay.
You said it that we are not seeing it because he was talking and I was not seeing it.
Oh, okay.
So answered it. I didn't know that so the hand was on, so I have lowered it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, madam.
Okay, Madam Florence, can I chip in something before I pick the next
Yes,
question?
please, you can. Yes.
Okay, so when he was presenting on the process, there were things that I was considering. So when we wrote out ours, there were a lot of challenges. So like the presenter said, so you have a situation where a student submits his work to the faculty member who probably forgot or didn't have the awareness to exclude saving in Turnitin's repository. So what happens is that even though it's an assignment or it's a chapter that is yet to be finalized, the system saves a copy. And then when the student resubmits, the system checks that work against what has been saved in the system. And it takes a long time so there's going to be a letter from the supervisors, and with the supervisor's endorsement to Turnitin, removing it is a bit tedious. So at some point, what we did in UG is that we have created a test site which we grant students access to. So every student can join. It has been made open, so every student can join. They can enroll themselves onto that site. And then, so whilst they are on the project, before they submit to the lecturer, they test, be sure they are within the accepted similarity index range. Test, edit, and then when they are okay with the supervisor's approval, then they can do the final submission. Trust me, this is create a lot of friction between students and supervisors if you don't take it. So urge that if you can do something like that. So students and faculty members are aware of that link. Once you have your draft, you test it before you submit to the supervisor so that it takes away that friction between students and their supervisors who normally don't have enough time for that.
Okay. I think Dr. Hachu can take that up for us after. We'll see how best we can sort that out.
Yeah, so you just
Okay.
simply
Jacob.
create one course that you share for everybody that if you are
Jacob.
if you are sure that
Please, your hand is
apply
up.
the parameters appropriately. And then everybody
Hello.
who does his work submits to that one. That's all.
Jacob.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Jacob.
Yes, madam. Can
Okay,
you hear
Mr. Hachu, please can you talk? Yeah, Jacob, yes, we are listening.
So, my question is that when you go to the Turnitin website and you want to sign in as an instructor, it requires that you use institutional email address. Some of us don't have.
Who is speaking? Which faculty are you from?
SLT.
No, every faculty has or should have the institutional email address. Should have the corporate email address. If you don't have, send an email to your HOD who confirm that you are an employee, and then you forward that the email will be created for you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. There's a question. Can we start using the system? Is it already linked to the LMS? Dr. Hachu?
Yes, you have access. You can use directly on the Turnitin site directly as Richard presented. So you have access to that. I think Richard took that.
Okay, but it has not been. Okay. Then please, at what level should students start using the Turnitin?
Madam, this is an anonymous attendee. We don't know who he is. So if it's not a staff or the university, I don't think we should attend to that question.
Attend to that question. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, any other comment? Mensbrew, Mr. Mensbrew, please take over. Mr. Mensbrew.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments, or suggestions from participants?
What I would suggest is that maybe the practical, the hands-on training, it should do it over and over again. And I believe a lot of people may not get it. It will take time for people to really get it. That is lecturers. So I think we need to do it over and over again for lecturers to really pick it up.
Yes, but the point is we have faculty research coordinators. In fact, from the beginning, they were taken through the system completely. But of course, most of them still needed to get a bit more abreast with the system. So it was suggested that this time around we'll engage the ICT guys, and then beyond this point, they will take over. Unless, of course, they have peculiar or special needs. In that case, the ICT guys will come in to assist. But beyond this point, what we are going to do is we need to get the research coordinators from the various faculties to organize same for their respective faculties, and then get the members within the various departments to come on board so that they could individually attend to their needs instead of having to organize the training on this scale again. So at this point, you make sure that the faculty coordinators take it up. As and when there are peculiar issues that's above and beyond them, then they could seek assistance from the ICT guys.
Yeah, so thank you. So we have the recording of this session available,
Okay.
and then the recording with the Turnitin guy that you said everybody attended from faculty reps is also available. All the manuals and documentations are available. So I think that should be sufficient for the faculty reps to take it up and then drive it from this point
All right. Thank
onwards.
you. And then
Okay,
again,
thank you.
because the policy
But beyond
document,
that,
we are going to ensure that within the next couple of weeks, the policy document will be passed, so that beyond that, all assignments and presentations or submissions by students to be subjected to the Turnitin, including their project works. But of course, this academic year is virtually over. So probably come next academic year, that is going to be enforced. So that is my advice to faculty members. So we need to really get our hands on the application so that as and when we start using them, we will not be found wanting. Dr. Florence, how are we going to take care of the students? Because for them to be totally aware that come next academic year, this is what we have in place, and therefore they wouldn't be allowed to submit their assignment as they used to do previously. We need to organize training or an orientation for them as to how to use the application, and then again all the issues that has to do with plagiarism, so that when they commit um, any form of dishonesty in respect of this, they will know the consequences, and then they know the channels that they will be subjected to, so that they wouldn't um, be found wanting.
noted, sir. We will organize sessions for them. I'll see you later on that issue.
Okay, all right. And faculty members, I believe you are all happy with the way the training session has gone. Since there are no questions or comments or suggestions, I believe that you fully appreciated the training program that was done today. Of course, our doors are still open. As and when there are issues bothering your mind, you could contact any of us. But I believe the ICT will be the most. And even with that, you still need to channel your issues through your faculty research coordinators, so that
And the university library, because it's more
oh,
of what
Yes,
to
and
do
the
than a
technical people.
technical
All
issue.
of us are involved.
okay, fine. But I believe the technical session or the technical aspect is the problem, because the rest basically I believe it's a lot of literature, and most of them are aware of. So going forward is the ICT bit that is going to be a bit of a problem. That's why I'm saying that we need to get a faculty research coordinators to liaise with your guys, so that you wouldn't have issues going forward as far as the technical aspects of the whole thing is concerned.
No problem. We will liaise with the ICT and we will organize series of training for students. Thank you.
Thank you too. Yeah. So on that note, Dr. Florence, anything else? Otherwise, we'll bring the session to an end. Or is Provis still on board? Provis, are you still available?
Yes, he is. Yes, he's still on board.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Provis, essentially we are done. So if you have any other information for faculty members,
Hello, madam.
we're
Yes,
employed.
yes. Thank you, madam. Thank you for.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Privacy. I thought you said privacy was from, but I mean, since essentially opened the session, I thought you could still
Yeah,
do same with the
maybe,
closing.
maybe he's in a meeting, but it shows he's still there, but he's not responding. So
Okay, all right. Then on that note, Dr. Florence, I implore you to thank the rest of our facilitators who had to avail themselves for this webinar.
okay. I think we are grateful to all of you, especially the technical people, Mr. Nyakom, Mr. Mensbrew, Dr. Hachu, and also to Eric. Eric, thank you so much for your time. You have given us enough time. You have taken time from your busy schedule to join us. I'm really, really grateful. And I believe you'll do more of such collaborations. Now you are more or less ATU staff part-time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And the attendees also, we are grateful for your time for listening to us. I hope this thing has been fruitful. And please, we'll be organizing such webinar series more often. And so please, anytime you see the flyer, kindly make time to join us. Thank you very much. Our next webinar series is on 1st October. I hope you make time to listen. Thank you very much. Please, I'm done, Mensbrew. Mr. Mensbrew.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. And thank you everybody for availing yourself for this webinar.
And thank Prof. to Prof. Amevi also for joining us. We are really grateful.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
All right.